Good evening. This is ENCA Moneyline, your money guide. My name is Kim Kabateli. Coming up on the show tonight. SAA is testing new technology to curb credit card fraud. New Greek government's a bid to save an ailing economy. And we discuss Ponzi schemes on Moneyline. But first, your top stories. A new system being trialled by South African Airways is set to revolutionise the tracking of crashed aircraft. It was initially designed to curb online fraud, but also enables accurate and uninterrupted tracking of aeroplanes. The system works even when the aircraft is off.
3 to 4% of purchases made on airplanes are fraudulent. Transactions can only be processed once the plane lands. But now, a South African manufactured satellite system will eliminate this risk for South African Airways.
This one would allow us to be able, when the customer purchases something on the aircraft, that he's able to swipe his credit card, and real time we can then be able to get the bank to pay us rather than to wait for the aircraft to go on the ground.
This satellite technology aims to not only curb online fraud whilst travelling in aircrafts, but it will also enable South African Airways to track their aircrafts at all times.
This technology will also allow a physical tracking of the aircraft to within a 2-kilometer radius. So meaning that we are able then to ensure, if we looked at what happened in Malaysia, where they had to search for an aircraft, with this technology on board, we can be able to track the aircraft.
The system does not replace the black box, but works as a complementary tracking system. It is also not as durable as a black box, however, transmits the location of the plane accurate to 15 seconds before the crash.
It doesn't take the place of the black box. Black box obviously creates and has a lot of telemetry data like flight path, like the actual voiceover in the cockpit and all the functions that take place. Our system literally independently transmits the location of the aircraft in relation to where it's flying at any one time, and also adds additional data like airspeed, like altitude.
The technology is currently being tested by South African Airways before being implemented across their fleet. Tabang Masanabo, Kempton Park.
The Saldanha Bay Industrial Development Zone will get a 10 billion rand infrastructure development investment. Transnet National Ports Authority says this will allow it to service the offshore oil and gas industry. The project will see the construction of a new rig repair dock service, modern rigs, and a dock that will allow it to build new service vessels. This is in line with the objectives of Operation Phakisa announced by President Jacob Zuma last year. Port manager Willem Roux says the development is an important one, with 120 oil rigs passing the South African coastline annually. Designated in 2013, the development zone is expected to create over 6,000 direct and more than 25,000 indirect jobs. Former Finance Minister Trevor Manuel has been appointed Independent Non-Executive Director at SAB Miller. The appointment is effective from March this year. Manuel is currently Senior Advisor and Deputy Chairman of Rothschild South Africa. Chairman of SAB Miller PLC, John Manser, says Manuel brings a wealth of experience to the company's board. Manser has also cited the former minister's work at multilateral organizations on emerging market development. Manuel is also co-chair of the Green Climate Fund, non-executive director of the Global Green Growth Institute, finance advisor to the United Nations, and chairman of the IMF's Development Committee. The European Union has warned Greece it must pay its debts or risk getting thrown out of the grouping. The party promising to cancel the country's debt has just been elected into power. The world may face a financial crisis if Greece reneges on its debts.
The winning Syriza party's campaign slogan, "Hope is coming," resonated with voters. The country's faced huge budget cuts and heavy tax rises during the years of crisis, that have sent unemployment over 25% and pushed millions into poverty. Greece owes the EU and the International Monetary Fund about 3 trillion rand. The money was given to the country to prop up its faltering economy. The EU has now warned that non-payment could see Greece being thrown out.
They have to pay. Those are the European rules of the game. There is no room for unilateral action in Europe. That doesn't exclude a discussion, for example, on the rescheduling of this debt.
The euro hit an 11-year low against the dollar as markets reacted to the prospect of a standoff within the EU. But many believe a Syriza government can reach a settlement with its debtors.
And joining us now on the line to discuss this matter is economist Mwelezi Mbeki. Mwelezi, thanks so much for your time today. Let's maybe start with a recap of why Greece had to institute austerity measures in the first place.
Well, my understanding is that Greece has huge problems with tax collection. There are huge sections of the population that exempt themselves from collecting taxes, especially the ship owners. The ship owners, Greece has a huge shipping industry. I'm told the oligarchy, as they call it, that owns these ships does not pay taxes in Greece. But there are other parts of Greek society, professional groups and so on, that are exempted from tax or have the political muscle to get tax exemption. So the issue is, how do you run a government without its citizens paying taxes? You then have to borrow.
Right. And lots of complaints, of course, in the run-up to the elections from particularly the middle classes in Greece, who feel that they've been squeezed. If you just look at some of the economic indicators in Greece, unemployment around 25-26%. Output has been cut by about a quarter. So who actually has been suffering and who's been benefiting from all of this?
Well, I'm not sure the beneficiaries are obviously the people who don't pay the taxes because they continue not to pay their taxes. The dilemma is, how is Greece going to get out of the hole that it's in? Because obviously you can't keep borrowing and borrowing if you are unable to pay. That is, I think, the incredible challenge that the new left-wing party is faced with.
Mm. So what are the implications then of this? The leader of the Syriza party, who's just won that election we were talking about, has been promising all sorts of things, not, getting out of these austerity measures and not being bullied by Europe and Germany. So if he does get his way, what are the implications?
Well, I don't see how he can get his way. If you borrow money, maybe... Let us say he's borrowed money for 5 years. They may extend his terms of payment to 10 years.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of scenarios that you could be faced with. But until they really can tax the people who are avoiding taxation in Greece, I don't understand how the new party is going to be able to solve the problem that Greece is sitting with.
There's also obviously the threat of a Greek exit from the Eurozone, as they're calling it, the Grexit. Could that then prompt other countries in southern Europe like Italy, Portugal, Spain, for example, to follow Greece's way?
I don't think that's really an option, to exit from the European Union. Remember, the European Union is first and foremost a security organization. It's also an organization to avoid the repeat of the wars that went on in Europe before the Second World War, yeah. The interstate wars that went on before the Second World War. So I don't think Greece has that option to skip out of the European Union or to get out of NATO for that matter.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thanks for your time today. That was economist Mwelezi Mbeki. And after the break, we give you advice on how to avoid making a bad investment. You're watching ENCA Moneyline, your money guide. Stay with us.